Hi everybody, how are you? This is Oren from Painting the Tape, a simplified financial community. Today we're going to start with our first part of our online webinar, the introduction to the financial markets. Basically, we've created this webinar in order for many people that contact us offline and online. They're asking us, what should I do with my money? How should I start trading? How should I start online investment? Stuff like that. And the answer is it's not simple, but what we decided to create this core basics of the economic principles in order for everybody to understand, what do you need to know before approaching the financial markets, before trying to think, applying for a trading account, so on and so forth. So on this first part of our webinar, I'm going to cover the markets. Everybody should know what is a market, how does it operate, what are the parties, the sides, whatever principle which is applied to the market, because this will assist you in understanding what should you do with your money, at least mapping your surroundings before you start. So let's start. So as I mentioned, we're going to cover three topics in this webinar. The markets, which is this video about. Then we're going to go over to investments and interest. And the last thing, third part of this webinar, we'll be finalizing it with the ultimate table, which is a tool I highly recommend everybody to use. Let's start with the market. So when we are asking ourselves, what is a market? Back days, okay, let's say in the old times, there was no money, right? Money was nothing. Nobody knew what money, there were no euros, no dollars, no nothing. So basically people, how were they able to buy stuff? They had the ability to meet at the village, at the city hall, outside of the wall, or on a trade paths. And then one side would bring a product, a good, a service, a commodity, and the other side would buy it. So our natural principle form of the markets economics are understanding that markets economics having two sides, a buyer and a seller, a producer and a buyer. So it is a very simple way to understand it because, as I mentioned, if we have no money, so our core markets principle is trading. It's the exchange of goods. And if I want to give you an example, let's say that James is growing tomatoes and he will sell 10 tomatoes or trade or exchange 10 tomatoes for the value of 2 bags of flour. And that's because he has a lot of tomatoes, he doesn't need all of them, and he's looking to buy flour to bake his food, okay, to bake his bread. If we're talking about the market composition, we already understood that there are two sides to this matrix. We have a side of the buyer and the seller, and we need to understand that there is no market if there is no buyer to exchange goods, and there is no market if there is no seller. So we need to understand that the market principle is having two sides of the coin. Now, the market structure, if we're talking about terminology in the economics, we're talking about demand and supply. Obviously, the demands are the clients and the people who are looking to buy stuff, and the suppliers are the people who are producing, providing services, so on and so forth. And since the game of the market is the constant fight between the demand and the supply, when the demand is looking to take the prices down in order to pay less for the same unit, and the suppliers are trying to increase the price up to make more profit, this is the constant fight which is going on in the market. So let's start. The market structure, the demand. As I mentioned, the demand are all the people, the customers, businesses, and bodies which are looking to buy. They have a demand for a product, a service, or a good, or a commodity. And they will always be looking to pay less and get more because they want the lowest price. If we're looking about the demand in an economic professional way, which is very important because this will be the first introduction to, let's say, graphs, which is every trader, every investor needs to understand this basic thing. So we have the y-axis, which represents the price per unit, and we have the x-axis, which represents the quantity. Let's add all the buyers in this market. Okay, we can assume that there's only one buyer, and here we have the demand curve. So at every point, I can understand what will be the price and what will be the quantity that will be offered in this market. If I continue to the suppliers, the other side of the matrix, it's a mirror image of what I just saw. Basically, the suppliers are the manufacturers, are the factories, the stores, the agriculturists, the farmers, the dairy farmers, all of the people which are producing. They're always looking to lower their cost. They want to produce for free, basically, and get paid as much as they want to increase their margin. And they would like to optimize their pricing regression. This is something we will talk about in another webinar. So they always seek and want to get to pay less, right? To manufacture at a lower price and to get more for the value, right? The higher price. If we're looking about, again, a presentation in a graph, which is important, here you go again, same market, same graph presentation, just this time, the supply demand is opposite to the demand curve. How can that be? So that basically means that the suppliers will manufacture little amounts if the price is low, and they will manufacture a lot of amounts, a lot of units, a lot of products. They will give a lot of service if they will get paid more. That makes sense as a business, doesn't it? If we're going to talk about the conditions, the optimal conditions to facilitate such a market, that's very, very clear. We have two sides, the buyers and the suppliers. We have got our products, our services, our goods, and a place for them to meet, right? That's the core basics of the market. If we bring suppliers and buyers into one market, and we tell them, okay, show me how much, tell me at each price, what's the amount you're going to buy, what's the amount you're willing to buy, eventually we will have a balance point, a place where they will meet. Why? Because we're going to ask all of the customers how much you're going to, and you're going to get prices and amounts and another information floating. Same thing gonna be with the suppliers. And again, this is a constant fight, which the customers would like to buy for free, and they would like to get paid. The suppliers would like to get paid as much as possible. At a specific point, our buyers and sellers will meet. Example here. Let's say that 1 unit of milk, okay, which will have to be predefined, of course, will be 3.5 euros, which is our price optimal point, and 3,254 units, probably it will be liters, okay, or ounces, doesn't really matter, which our quantity optimal. All right, so if I will continue, I will see that the market structure, okay, as the supply, okay, the market structure will put the supply inside and the demand, and there we have a balance point. So if I put the two curves, they are meeting. At this point, we will have our optimal point of price and quantity. So in this milk market, combining all the suppliers and all the customers, we've reached the point that they have agreed to buy 3,542 units of milk at each unit at a price of 3.5 euros. Now let's talk about the types of market. Why? Because if we understand that each market has the same composition, a buyer and a seller, a producer and a consumer, that means that the same principle, the same display, the same rules will probably apply to all of the other markets. We can talk about, for example, we can talk about the money market, where we have an interest rate which is provided by the federal bank or the governmental bank and the money held by the public. The employment market, what is the cost, or what is the labor cost per 1 hour, let's say for cleaners or in general. The cement market, what is 1 kilo or 1 pound of cement? And we can go on and on. Diamonds, tomatoes, vegetables, everything we will decide can be here. For our market summary, in general, we understand that we have, first of all, two sides, right? We understand that we have buyers, sellers, demand, and supply. And you're asking yourself, how is it going to help me with investments and trading? So before we approach trading and investment, because this is going to be our second part of this, of our, excuse me, guys, of our webinar, okay, we should fully understand where are we stepping into. Don't forget, if you don't know how does a market operate, what's the basic core principle, seller, buyer, each and every one of them pulling the prices. That's why we always have constant movements in prices in stock markets, in the interest rates, in everywhere we do, everything which is related to economics and financials. All right. So you have to understand this. You cannot approach trading investment before you do that. And I'm giving this example. Would you practice medicine without going to medicine school? The first person we are going to probably operate will die because we don't have a clue what we're doing. Same thing applies here. Same thing. Would you jump into the deep water without even being like you don't know how to swim? You've never been to the deep water? No, it's a fatal result. Same thing. You take your well-earned money and you put it in, and bang, this money is gone because you didn't know what to do. You didn't even knew how to read the market. Why do we see everything in graphs? Why is it moving? Now you know. In every market, there is a party which sells and provides. There's a the other side of the matrix which buys and consumes, and they are constant fighting with each other. So before the next time you're going to approach trading on investment, forex brokers, option brokers, stock brokers, I don't know, buying a house, everything, remember this. Why is my investment moving constantly? Why is my portfolio is constantly moving? Remember that. That is because in every market, you have two sides or more, we'll talk about in the future, that always changes the prices and affects the results and the display of this market. So if I understood everything, okay, and I know now, I should have some sort of a motto and understanding. What should I do? And this is something I'm giving to you. Before you go and approach anything new, please learn, you study, you practice, and then you experiment. So let's start with the learning and studying part. Then we'll move on to the practice part. Then you'll be able to experiment. This is the end of the first part, the markets. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more.